Clear. 30
30
seconds.
seconds. All right, then we'll go. Welcome to NSEN. I'm Elijah Campbell.
And I'm Victor Benz. Welcome to NSEN.
Now, coming up, a few of your favorite NCAA teams were in action on Saturday. Who stepped up, who showed out, and who got put on upset alert?
Your Blue Raiders had a big-time homecoming game on Saturday against rival FIU. Stick around to see how they fared.
And football wasn't the only sport, Vic, that dominated the weekend. The NHL kicked off its season. There were plenty of excitement in the MLB playoffs.
All those stories and much more. NSEN starts right now.
Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Elijah Campbell.
And I'm Victor Benz. Welcome to NSEN.
Wait, you hear that, Vic? It sounds like an upset alert.
All the way from Michigan?
Yeah, I think this is issued for the number 7 Michigan Wolverines.
One loud
Let's
alert.
take you out to Ann Arbor right now for the highlight between the number 7 Michigan Wolverines and in-state rival Michigan State. Which, remember the last time we went out, these two teams played in Ann Arbor, Michigan lost in that heartbreaking fumble with the punt in the last waning seconds.
Yeah. It just hasn't been a good matchup for our on-crew staff, Mr. Darius Horton. He's a very big Michigan fan, but
He is. And of course, last year, Michigan pulled off the big win. They got their revenge. But how are they going to do in Ann Arbor after a couple years?
well, let's find out.
All right. Well, first quarter, quarterback Brian Lewerke, 14-yard touchdown run as he breaks the pocket. 7-3 Michigan State. Now, let's fast forward it one more quarter. Michigan State still with a 7-3 lead. Lewerke fakes the handoff, fakes the reverse, and finds tailback Madre London for a 16-yard touchdown reception
Get out of my way.
to put the Spartans up 14-3. Those alerts, those sirens are being a little louder now, aren't they?
I can definitely hear him now.
But Michigan fights back a little bit. John O'Cord, even though he trips off the handoff, finds Khalid Hill for the 1-yard touchdown run as he bullies his way into the end zone. And just like that, it's a 14-10 game. But as Michigan makes their run, Mother Nature makes her appearance. And it starts to downpour. It's really hard to play football in this type of elements, Vic.
It's kind of hard to see in these type of elements.
Let alone play. Last play of the game, John O'Corn back to pass. It's the last chance for Michigan. The prayer is batted down. Incomplete, ball game, upset accomplished. Michigan State not only beats the Michigan Wolverines 14-10, they come away with the Paul Bunyan Trophy, which is a pretty neat trophy, very rare in college football.
Very, very rare. Now let's take it from one in-state rivalry to the next. Let's go all the way down south as the Miami Hurricanes take on in-state rival Florida State Seminoles. Now this has been a big rivalry going back since the 80s when they were both on top of the ACC. You know, this game was supposed to be postponed at first, but as you can see, we got football. First, we're going to take it straight to the second as we get Malik Rozier, the big pass to Braxton Berrios to start it off, the first touchdown for either team. Then we're going to take it to the next drive. JB, James Blackman, big dump off down to the touchdown.
Tie ball game.
Tie ball game indeed to Ryan H to the Izzo. Next, we got
Another touchdown pass.
Rozier dumping it off again back to Braxton Berrios. That was a good connection all day for them. But the Florida State Seminoles come right back, a bullet. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, the minute and a half left? That's got to be it, right?
Yeah, that upset alert getting kind of loud for Florida as well. Psych. Miami, all about the U. Big pass Rozier to Daryl Langham. His only catch of the day, but I don't think the coach is going to be too mad about that one. As you can see, the sideline erupts. Just 6 seconds left. Well, what can Florida State really do? Miami, they're hyped. They're finally over the hump. They beat Florida State. The first time they beat them since, as you can see, 2009. Elijah, I was in middle school when that happened, so as you can tell, it's been a long time.
I was a freshman in high school, so I was a little older, but that's still many moons ago. And it's nice to see Miami finally get over the hump. And it looks like the U is finally turning back into the U again after years of just mediocre football. But now let's kick it over to our college sports reporter, Darius Horton, who's got the inside scoop on everything college sports. Darius?
Yeah, well, thank you. I really appreciate it. But as far as True Blue winning, this past Saturday, the MTSU Blue Raiders had their homecoming game against the 3-1 Florida International Panthers. After Middle took a hard loss against Florida Atlantic last week, they rebounded and won 37-17. The biggest story of this game was linebacker Khalil Brooks. Brooks is a sophomore who recorded 3 sacks on the day, along with 8 tackles and a forced fumble. Quarterback John Urzua didn't disappoint as well. Urzua went 25 of 31 passing yards and throwing a touchdown. The Blue Raiders' next game is at the University of Alabama in Birmingham this Saturday. Kickoff is set for 5:30. During a 4-game win streak, one team is only being recognized for their performance on the field, but also for their performance beyond it. Sports reporter Lamonte Solomon had the pleasure of meeting with the Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders softball team and learning about their accomplishments.
The soil is all a part of growing into champions. By Eastern and the National Fast Pitch Coaches Association ranks the softball team 4th in the nation amongst every other D1 softball program for their 2016 to 17 academic success. Their GPA of an overall 3.616 places them first in line ahead of every D1 college in the state of Tennessee, such as UTK, TSU, and ETSU. To some, this comes as a surprise, but some players say it was all a part of their game plan.
My freshman year, I suggested that our team have an overall GPA of a 3.5 when we were setting our goals, and all of our upperclassmen laughed at me.
But even laughs could not keep the ladies from sticking to their goal. When asked about the route it took to achieve this national honor, it went back to one word.
When you care about the person that's to your left and to your right, you want them to do well, not only on the field, but you want them to do well in the classroom, and they just hold each other accountable.
For some, this plaque on the wall just might be a sign, but for the softball team, it means more.
I think what's great is on our door every day when they walk in, they touch a placard or a piece of wood that says family on it, and they really buy into it.
Winning a game poses as a challenge within itself. Being number 1 in the state is something any team would like to get the hang of, but the Raiders head coach says it comes with being a champion every day.
I ask them every day, were you a champion in life today? Well, and our 3 goals for that is, are they a champion academically, are they a champion socially, and are they a champion, athletically? And if they can lay their head down at night and say, I was a champion in those 3 areas, then we got something good going on.
With NSEN, I'm Lamonte Solomon.
The Lady Raiders plan to stay ranked in the top 10 and to eventually reach the number 1 spot. But until then, they look forward to hosting Chattanooga State tomorrow at 5 o'clock. The Lady Raiders' plan is to stay ranked in the So now, let's see. All right. So now let's take a top look at the top 5 Conference USA schools, and let's see who's going to win the East and West. In first place on the East side, the Florida Atlantic Owls sit in first place, followed by Marshall, then Florida International, who lost to MT this past weekend. The boys from Bowling Green take 4th, and your MTSU Blue Raiders round out the top 5 on the East. On the West side, North Texas takes number 1 as Southern Miss, with 1 conference loss behind the Mean Green. UAB in 3rd place with a similar record to Louisiana Tech, 6th and 4th, and the Rice Owls round out your top 5. Basketball season is creeping upon us in the borough, and the Blue Raiders have high expectations. NBC Sports released their Conference USA preview where they listed MTSU the favorite to win Conference USA. The Blue Raiders are going to be led by senior Giddy Potts, who NBC is calling the preseason Conference Player of the Year. They have new recruits like 6'9" power forward TJ Massenberg and Memphis native Nick King, who is a forward and is coming to the borough. King was the number 37 overall recruit in 2015 and plans to take the borough by storm. Middle Tennessee starts this season on November 2nd against Arkansas Fort Smith at the Murphy Center. The Blue Raiders struggled. And back to you guys at the desk.
All right, still ahead on NSEN. Our high school sports reporter Camden Gathright fills us in all the high school scores and news from around the state of Tennessee.
Also still ahead, our debaters, tackled some noteworthy topics around the sports world, which included one offensive line coach having to resign.
Don't change that channel, folks. NSEN will be right back.
Chef Patty here. Why should you include avocados as part of your family's balanced diet? It's as simple as 1, 2, 3. Number 1. Avocados fill you up. Avocados contain unsaturated fats, good fats your body needs to help with the absorption of key nutrients.
Me hungry right now.
Number 2.
Avocados are good for you.
Avocados are naturally cholesterol and sodium free, plus they contain nearly 20 vitamins and nutrients.
Me need vitamins and nutrients. And number 3, avocado delicious.
Try avocados in place of ingredients higher in saturated fat. Avocados taste great in sandwiches, salads, and even in baked goods like cookies.
Avocado cookies? This match made in heaven.
This is your new kitten, or your new puppy. Every day, 70,000 puppies and kittens just like them are born in the U.S. Cute, right? Well, what's not cute is that half of all litters are accidents. And when a kitten has a litter of oopsies and a puppy has a litter of uh-ohs, pretty soon you have thousands and thousands of OMGs. And that leads to millions of pets being killed in shelters each year. But if 80% of pet owners say they believe in spaying and neutering, then what gives? Well, it turns out those sweet little fuzzballs can get pregnant sooner than you think. A lot sooner. But here's the good news. You can stop the accident before it happens. You just have to remember one number. 4, as in 4 months. When you bring home Maggie or Ruby or Puddle or Clyde, get them fixed at 4 months. It can be old enough to get pregnant, and it's definitely young enough to make a difference. Prevent more, fix at month 4.
Welcome back to NSEN. Well, Elijah, we had another exciting Friday full of high school football action, if I must say so myself.
Well, you're certainly not wrong right there, Vic. And for more on the happenings around the TSSAA, let's throw it over to NSEN high school reporter Camden Gathright. Cam.
Thanks, guys. With their high school sports, over the weekend, the #1 team in Tennessee continued their undefeated season. The Oakland Patriots traveled to Franklin, Tennessee to take on the Franklin Rebels. The Rebels were no match for the Oakland running attack as the Patriots rushed for 405 yards and 5 touchdowns and took down the Rebels 41-7. Senior playmaker Jeremy Rooks led Oakland with 13 carries for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. The defense of the Patriots was also dominant. They held the Rebels to 179 yards and only 6 first downs. Oakland's next opponent will be against conference rival Siegel High School this Friday at 7 p.m. After this week in high school football, there are a handful of teams fighting for the #1 ranking in the region. With Oakland being just 1 game up from Riverdale, Blackman, and Cookeville High School, this upcoming Friday game against Siegel is a big one. Also, Blackman and Cookeville High will face off against each other for their first Friday, against each other this Friday at Cookeville High School. Blackman is coming off a 62-0 win against Warren County and have a lot of momentum coming into this game. Cookeville, on the other hand, is coming off their first loss of the season to rival Riverdale High School and will be looking to get back on the winning track. Both teams are 6-1, and one team hopes to come up with a victory and keep the pressure on Oakland High School for the #1 seed. The Oakland High Patriots will be following the Stars as they head up to play Siegel. The undefeated Patriots will play the 3-4 Siegel Stars on Friday. This is a big game for both teams as this is a conference game against each other. The Patriots lead at the win column 11-4 against the Stars since 2004. Who will win? Let us know on Twitter at NSEN__MTDN. Most teams do not make a one-season turnaround, but the Eagleville High School Eagles have done that. They ended the season last year with a 3-6 record and now have doubled it. Now the Eagles are 6-1, and the team's offense is the one to thank. They went from only averaging 23 points to nearly averaging 35 so far. The Eagles will play at Columbia Academy this Friday at 7 p.m. And let us know who you would think will win on Twitter at, again, NSEN__MTDN. Well, that's all we have for this week's high school action. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Cam. Still ahead on NSEN, it's time to drop the verbal gloves and have our debaters discuss some interesting topics from around the world of football.
And don't miss out on seeing pro sports reporter Calvin Smith fill you in on the MLB playoffs and the opening of a new season in the NHL. Those stories and more, so please don't change that channel.
Everyone deserves to have a decent place to live.
Everyone. Todos.
When a future homeowner partners with Habitat for Humanity to build or improve a home, they build a better future for themselves and their families.
For my family.
Para po sa pamilya ko.
Por mi familia.
With a little help, we all have the potential to stand on our own. Through shelter, we empower. Visit Habitat.org to provide help to families like these today.
Time is the one thing that we want more of as a St. Jude parent. Without the donors, I wouldn't have my Audrey.
El que St. Jude no cobra ni un centavo para nosotros significa quitarnos todo ese estrés, esa preocupación y podernos enfocar en nuestra hija.
That was the first thing I was like, how are we gonna do this? When they told us that we didn't have to pay a single bill, I was like, wow. They pretty much have saved us.
They take care of our housing. They take care of our food. In addition to the best medical treatment that my daughter could ever have. So it allows me to focus on my daughter and getting her better.
Your seat cushion can be used to grant wishes.
Who said that? Hello?
Really can, you know.
You talking to me?
Sure am. Because the airline miles you earn and donate to Make-A-Wish can help send thousands of kids on their wish trips. So donate to Make-A-Wish today.
You really should, you know. You really should.
And give wishes wings. Because wishes work wonders.
Thanks, guys, and welcome to our first debate. We have a hot one this week as we get our debaters, Kendrick and Xavier Dupree. Now, guys, we're going to be discussing a hot topic as offensive line coach Chris Furster resigned after a video surfaced of him sniffing a white powdery substance over the weekend. So, Kendrick, how do you feel about this as far as, like, the coaches go? Do you feel like they should be held to the same rights as players go as far as the drug policy?
I feel like they should. I mean, coaches are the people in charge who should be able to lead by example. They should be able to represent more than themselves, but also the lead. And if athletes can't use drugs, then the coaches shouldn't be able to either.
Xavier, how do you feel about this? Do you feel the same way?
No, I don't. I don't think that coaches should be drug tested. I feel like that's a knee-jerk reaction. Players are busted more for drug abuse than coaches, so that's why they're being tested. This guy, Coach Furster, I mean, why he videoed himself doing that, I have no clue, but he did it. It got put out there. Just because we've caught one coach doing something like this doesn't mean that now all the coaches need to be tested. Since 2015, 72 players have been busted or suspended for using drugs, illegal drugs, whether it be, and most of them is marijuana. Now, it could be other substances, but most of them are marijuana. That's why players are being drug tested. So now I don't think coaches should be drug tested. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay, so you're saying basically that do you believe that if it wasn't such a hard drug that it wouldn't be such a crucial reaction, like say he was caught maybe smoking weed? How do you think the league's perception would be of that?
I think it might be a little their possession might be a little lighter, but just the fact that it was quote unquote a white powdery substance, that makes it a little worse. I agree with Kendrick with him saying that coaches are the leaders. They're leading the team. They're supposed to set an example. But if this is the first coach that we've caught in public doing this, I don't think that now all the coaches should have to be subjected to drug testing now. There's one guy, he's resigned, which I don't feel like he should have resigned. I feel like he should have got fired, but that's neither here or there. He resigned already. The Dolphins are going to handle it. Let's move on, and let's keep playing football.
Kendrick, how do you feel about this? The same question for you.
I definitely think that coaches should be drug tested. I mean, think about it. Coaches are risking their butts off to make sure that these athletes get to where they want to be in life, not just as far as sports, but as far as setting an example. Just think about all the athletes that have kids, or the athletes that are, the kids are watching these athletes, and the athletes are led by coaches. Coaches are like, they're more than just.
But kids aren't going up saying, I want to be like Chris Furster, the O-line coach for the Dolphins. They saying they want to be like Jarvis Landry, the receiver, or Ryan Tannehill, the quarterback. You're not going to find a 5-year-old to come up and want to get an autograph from Chris Furster. I mean, come on now. Yeah, they're leading players, but they're figures in the community. But you're not going to find kids that's going to come out and say, yeah, when I grow up, I want to be an offensive line coach. I want to be just like him. They want to be like the athletes. And I feel like as long as the athletes are doing their part, and part of they're not. Like I said, 72 players since 2015 have been suspended for drug use, and we got 13 already this year. We're only 5 weeks in, and 13 players have already been suspended. That's why the players are being drug tested. The coaches, they're a public figure, and yes, he shouldn't have done it. The reason why he's done it, there's been different stories for why he was doing it. He's got a significant other. He might have been in an emotional state. That's why he did it. Blase. But that doesn't give him the right to do it. I agree with you. But to come out and say that coaches need to be drug tested all of a sudden is ludicrous to me. I don't see the need. There's no need to.
So Kendrick, with this drug, you believe that it should be a drug policy, correct? So should it be as strict as the players' drug policy? Because the main thing that they do want to crack down on with players is performance-enhancing drugs. Do you think it should be the same lines, or how do you feel about that?
I definitely think so. Just for drugs in general, they definitely should cut down on drug use, whether it's weed, whether it's marijuana. Obviously, we had the former offensive line coach snorting powdery substance. It's just, coaches are there to teach these athletes.
And look, even if you do a drug test, just like how players get drug tested, if you come up with stricter policies, stricter laws, it doesn't matter, because players are still going to use drugs. The coaches are still going to use drugs. So it really doesn't matter regardless. It doesn't matter regardless. Coaches and players are still going to use them. So, you can come up with stricter bylaws and policies, but it's still going to be used. So,
So you don't feel, Xavier, that even if they don't have a drug policy, that it won't influence them to do any more drugs?
No, they're grown. They're adults. They're grown men. They're going to do what they want to do at the end of the day. They're going to do what they want to do. So, people break the law all the time.
Well, thank you, Xavier and Kendrick, but that's all the time that we actually have for this debate. But don't break away just yet. Come back right after the break. We're going to have some more debates for you and, of course, a couple more highlights. So stay tuned.
I never imagined this would be your first home.
I feel powerless. I can't stop asking, why us?
I I just want to hug and kiss you and never let go.
This is the hardest thing we've ever faced. I know it's even harder on you.
You are my little fighter. We're here with you.
I believe in you. Just 4 simple words. But to a child in need, they mean the world. When you support a child through Save the Children, you're saying, I believe in you. Visit sponsor.savethechildren.org/believe today.
We cure 80% of children with cancer. If you think about that, I mean, go back 50 years, we were curing 20 to 30%. This is the miracle story of modern medicine. There's one thing we're focused on here at St. Jude, and that's beating this thing.
To pose, now sure. She makes the sun seem, makes me deep in the North Sea.
Welcome back to NSEN. Elijah, we had a busy weekend in the world of professional sports as well.
We sure did. From playoff baseball to regular season football and the opening of a new season in the NHL, we have a lot to cover. So here's Pro Sports reporter Calvin Smith with your Pro Sports Report. Calvin.
Thanks, guys. The defending Western Conference champion Nashville Predators kicked off their season last week and haven't gotten off to a hot start yet. The Preds lost both games last week, including a 4-0 loss to the Stanley Cup champion Pittsburgh Penguins. Coach Peter Laviolette went in a different direction by starting UC Saros in net, while the Penguins' Matt Murray shut out the Preds. Nashville gets their first taste of hockey when the Predators return home tonight to play the Philadelphia Flyers, and that game is currently 3-1. The MLB postseason had several heart-pounding finishes over the weekend. Possibly the most dramatic was Bryce Harper's game-tying home run to tie the Chicago Cubs in the 8th inning. Harper's slam led to Ryan Zimmerman's home run in the same inning to take the lead and win their first game of the series. The winner of the Nationals and Cubs series will play the Los Angeles Dodgers in the National League Championship Series. And over in the American League, the Astros beat the Red Sox in a 4-game series to set up a matchup with the New York Yankees or the defending AL champion Cleveland Indians in a deciding Game 5. And without Marcus Mariota this weekend, the Titans struggled in a 16-10 loss to the Miami Dolphins. With Matt Castle in place of Mariota, he didn't have the best game of his career. Castle threw for just 141 yards and the Titans' lone touchdown. The Titans face the Indianapolis Colts on Monday night next week. If both quarterbacks return, this could be a Marcus Mariota versus Andrew Luck matchup. And speaking of the Colts, I'll go ahead and give you a preview of their slate against the Titans next week. The Colts are led by Jacoby Brissett, who's starting in place of Andrew Luck, when they beat the 49ers last week and are 2-3 coming into this game. The Colts defense is currently giving up almost 32 points per game and just under 400 yards. Expect the Titans to put points on the board, especially if Marcus Mariota returns. And that's all I have for Pro Sports. Back to you guys.
Well, yeah, it's definitely hard to beat college football Saturdays and hockey and everything like that. But we also had a pretty big week in the NFL, too. We're blessed with a great slate of Sunday games.
Sunday was amazing. And we're going to start it off, actually, with a great Sunday game. Titans and Dolphins from Miami.
Hey, Titans, like we said, without Marcus Mariota and having to start Matt Castle.
So Matt Castle, as you can see, actually gets smacked. I'm talking about smacked. And, that's going to end the first quarter. Wait a minute.
Looked like an incomplete pass, but after further review.
It was actually a fumble with Kiko Alonso being responsible for the hit. Head coach Mike Mularkey obviously was not happy with the call, but what you going to do?
Next half. Looks like Castle throws that super gnaw.
Yes, that is not Superman. Super Nah with the 11-yard completion.
Best name on the team.
Oh, no, best name in the league. Next drive, though, for the Dolphins, Jay Cutler throws it in to Jarvis Landry for the 6-yard touchdown. That puts them up 16-10, but they did not convert on the extra point. So the Titans actually had a chance to take the lead late, But with 3rd and 9, Matt Castle is sacked again. So it was a very disappointing weekend for Tennessee Titans as they dropped to 2-3. And like you said, with Marcus Mariota possibly still out for another weekend, it's going to be rough for the Titans to bounce back after this tough loss.
It certainly is. But the Titans weren't the only team that were trying to bounce back after a tough loss. Starting down in Jerry World, the Dallas Cowboys lost to the Los Angeles Rams last week, and they were faced with the Green Bay Packers in prime time. Starting off in the fourth quarter, we had 5 lead changes in the fourth quarter. We got to start here. Jordy Nelson, one of his 2 catches, this one being worth 6 points to put the Packers up early in the fourth. A couple possessions later, Dak Prescott only threw 1 interception, and this is it. Demarius Randall with a 21-yard interception return for a touchdown. Demarius Randall from, you guessed it, Vic, Arizona State. Good job. And that's his first touchdown of the season. He gives the Packers the lead at 28-24. Now, they did not get the 2-point conversion, so it is still a 1-possession game. Later in the next drive, Ezekiel Elliott on 4th and centimeters.
Did he get it?
Did he get it?
Did he get it?
Refs say no at first, but wait. However, Ezekiel Elliott gets hit at the line and stretches his arm to touch the 19-yard line. First down, Cowboys. The dream's still alive. A couple plays later, Dak Prescott with a fake to Elliott, who had a great day. Option play, touchdown. Prescott with his 1 rushing touchdown to add to the 3 passing he threw in the game. It should be over, right? Touchdown.
Of course
Less than a minute left. But Ron Rodgers with a pass to Devontae Adams for his 2nd receiving touchdown of the game. With 6 seconds left, Vic, there's not much you can do. And the Packers, for the 2nd year in a row, win in Jerry World.
You know, the Cowboys, they was coming into this year looking like they might be a Super Bowl favorites again, but I don't know. It's been a rough start, to say the least.
You're right. Not many teams come back from a 2-3 deficit, and with the way other teams in the NFC are looking, it's going to be hard for the Cowboys to come back.
But we're going to switch it over, actually go a little bit more up north in the country, as we're going to look at the Panthers take on the Lions in Detroit.
Just keeping it in the NFC, I like it.
Cam Newton coming off a tough road win last week against the Patriots. He's getting ready for trying to make it another road win this week. As you got first quarter here, we got my boy, number 34, Zach Zenner rushing it in for the 1-yard rush. But we got Super Cam on the other side. He's going to run it in. Nope. I think he's going to dish it off to Christian McCaffrey for his first touchdown on the season.
He's quick.
He's very quick. Almost as quick as me.
Almost, keyword.
But then we got Panthers on the next drive for them. He's running around looking for a Cam, throws it in to number 17, Devin Funchess. Mr. Funchess looks like he's having a bunch of fun on that one, that celebration.
Funchess in the end zone.
But Super Cam's not done. Oh, my goodness. Look at that man with that 31-yard pass down to Kelvin Benjamin for the 31-yard pass. But just like last week, Carolina showing, yeah, you guys can come back on us. Trying to make it interesting. Matthew Stafford throws it in to number 87, Darren Fells. 3rd and 10 for the next drive for these folks. And it looks like Darren Fells was feeling good as he goes in for another touchdown. He only had 2 catches, and they both ended up for a touchdown. Next drive, Carolina Panthers trying to ice the ball, and it looks like they iced the game on this one as that 3rd down conversion ended up icing the game. Lions had no more timeouts, so that was all that she wrote for that game.
It's nice to see Cam Newton looking like his MVP self, and it's nice to see how happy do you think he is to have Kelvin Benjamin back, his favorite target who's been out a couple weeks due to injury.
And you'd be surprised. Carolina is actually undefeated this year on the road, but they're going home this weekend to play in primetime Thursday, the Eagles, so that's definitely going to be a great matchup.
Now, that was some good NFL action. We certainly had all of that, but one could argue that we had an even bigger week in the MLB.
Really?
Yeah, and it's October. So you already know we got some playoff baseball going on, Vic. Let's take it to Fenway Park for Game 4 of Astros and Red Sox. Starting off here, 1 on, 1 out, 1 gone, and that gone being the baseball that Andrew Benintendi just hit out to give the Red Sox a 3-2 lead. The Astros fight back. Chris Sale on the mound, meet Alex Bregman. Bregman, meet Green Monster. Home run to tie the ball game up in the top of the 8th inning here, but the Astros aren't done. Kimbrel comes in to replace Sale. Josh Reddick makes him pay, hits it in the gap. 1 run scores, and the Astros take a lead after Cameron Maben rounds 3rd and heads for home. Going 1 inning later, Kimbrel still on the mound, and Carlos Beltran, the ageless wonder, it feels like he's 50, Vic, but he's still out here hitting balls off the Green Monster. That's an RBI. That's going to bring around a run. 5-3 Astros. Now, bottom of the ninth, our man, bottom of the order.
Ooh, couldn't get that catch.
Devers hits an inside the park home run. He rounds for third. Ball hits off the wall.
Fenway's
Boston's going bananas right now. Fenway Park is in a frenzy. They're only down 1 with 2 outs. Dustin Pedroia grounds a soft grounder to Jose Altuve, who throws it to first. Ball game. Game over. Series over. And the Houston Astros, for the first time since 2005, make it to a league championship series. That was back when they were in the National League, not the American League.
Interesting. So, sad to see Boston go home, but hey, it's October. Somebody's got to pack their bags.
Someone's got to. You can't win them all, Vic. But coming up next on NSEN, our debaters tackle another tough topic.
And don't forget to stick around for fantasy football winners and losers, of course, from Week 5. That's all coming next, so stay tuned.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Idle hands. They say they're the devil's workshop. But give idle hands a place to go, a purpose, and they're capable of amazing things.
From Iraq and Afghanistan, our brave warriors are coming home, wounded. Some with wounds you can see, some with wounds you can't see. Wounded Warrior Project was created to support our men and women coming off the battlefield. Please help carry these warriors the rest of the way home. Get involved at woundedwarriorproject.org.
It started with the original care package, and millions more like it, passed from hand to hand across land and sea to help survivors in the aftermath of war. As we grew, we found better ways to help those in need, ways to make a real difference, not just today, but tomorrow as well. Be the difference in people's lives. Help deliver lasting change at care.org.
Welcome back to NSEN, and welcome to our second debate. And for this one, we got another hot football topic for you between David Janes and Lamonte Solomon, talking about the QB controversy we have at MTSU. Of course, we know Brent Stockstill is the starter at the beginning of the year. He's been hurt. He's battling injuries. And John Urzua has picked it up and is having a pretty good last couple of games, especially this last one.
Yes.
What do you think we should do when Stockstill gets healthy, David?
Well, I feel like with the way Urzua has been playing, he should take the start. You know, he's a redshirt sophomore, so he hasn't had all the same experiences as Brent has. He's a 3-year starter. He's been starting for 3 seasons, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
And I just feel like if he's doing well, if he wins these next couple of games, against UAB, then against against Western Kentucky, I feel like he should get the start. If I think Brent comes back after the WKU game, and if he wins those 2 games, one on the road and one at home, I feel like he should get the start.
Okay, so you feel like it's just kind of sticking with the hot hand, kind of the way George is doing with Jake Fromm and Jacob Eason, who got hurt earlier in the year. Lamonte, what do you think? Do you think that we should stick with Urzua once Stockstill gets healthy, or when Stockstill recover, or are we going to go back to our original starter? Lamonte, you with us?
Yes.
There you are.
All right. I think Urzua won't continue to be the starting quarterback for the Blue Raiders long, especially once Stockstill is healthy. This team needs their quarterback. They need the quarterback that has taken them to a bowl game, the quarterback that has improved not only his game, but also the Raiders' overall record. When Stockstill comes to play, the rest of the team knows when Stockstill comes to plays, the team knows who's to follow, and they also believe in him.
All right, so for you, it's more of like this guy's been the natural leader. He's been there since day one, the off season, the preseason workouts, and everything like that.
He's the hometown hero.
He's a hometown hero too. There is a little bit of that in there. What now? Put yourself in the coach's shoes, David. Hometown hero. It's your son too. In this case, let's not forget the coach is Stockstill's dad.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you're, dad coach, do you still stick with? Would you
I feel like as the coach, you should make the decision based off of who is going to help me win this game.
Right.
And I get it. Brent is the son of Rick Stockstill, but I feel like if John Urzua is doing well and is winning games, he should be the starter. I mean, he should get the start. Yes, Brent is the hometown hero here. He played at City High School. We all know that. He is probably one of our better quarterbacks. But like I said, if John is literally winning these games for us, he needs to calm down on the interceptions, though. But if he's winning these games and he's improving week by week, I feel like he should get the start either way.
Well, I have to disagree with that, and I have to absolutely say that with John being the starting quarterback at the moment, he's actually getting the Blue Raiders away from what they do. I'm saying they won over the weekend with
it's not his fault he doesn't have Ricky James.
No, it's not even that. It's just that they're getting them away from the game. Even with Ricky James, a receiver just doesn't throw the ball to themselves. But against their homecoming game, John had 25 out of 31 receptions, 250 yards, 1 touchdown. The score was 37-17. Mm-hmm. 1 touchdown is not 37 points. Everybody knows MTSU is a passing offense. So with 3 rushing touchdowns, MTSU sort of got away from what they do.
Well, isn't it good, though, that they are making rushing touchdowns, that they're improving based on their game? So once he gets Ricky back, and he can when he gets Richie back, and he can put him into his game.
Not necessarily.
Doesn't that help out a little bit, though?
No, not necessarily. What that tells me is they focus more on limiting their quarterback and keeping him from throwing the ball to prevent them from making turnovers and losing the game.
All right, that's a good point from both of you guys, but I'm afraid that's all we have. It's a great debate, and it's one that we're going to look out for in the coming weeks when Stockstill does eventually become healthy. But until then, we're going to kick it over commercial. Don't change that channel. We still have fantasy football. We have a fantasy football expert, Martha Sanders, will fill us in not only in the latest news in the fantasy world, but will also provide tips and suggestions to take your fantasy football game to the next level. Stay with us.
There are those who dedicate themselves to a sense of honor, to a life of courage, and a commitment to something greater than themselves. They have always defended this nation and each other. They still do. The few, the proud, the Marines.
As a mother, you don't want to have to worry about this bill is coming, but then she needs this chemo. That's a decision you shouldn't have to make.
El que San Jude no cobra ni un centavo para nosotros significa quitarnos todo ese estrés, esa preocupación y podernos enfocar en nuestra hija.
That was the first thing I was like, how are we going to do this? When St. Jude told us that we didn't have to pay a single bill, I was like, wow. They pretty much have saved us.
It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders, and now your focus is supporting this child.
There is not another hospital like St. Jude. The patient care is unmatchable. It saved my life. It saved my daughter's life. It saved our family.
Welcome back to NSEN. Vic, how's your fantasy football team looking?
Actually in 2 leagues. One of them's doing okay. The other one, I'm not claiming.
Fair enough. I'm in about 3 or 4 leagues too many, and many of those seasons are already going down the gutter. I can't offer you much advice, and I'm sure Vic can't offer a bunch of great ones too. But we know who can.
Martin Sanders joins us as he comes out of retirement to help you with your fantasy team. Martin?
That's right. Thanks, guys. What's going on, everyone? I'm Martin Sanders, a.k.a. the Fantasy Guru, and I am here to help guide you along your fantasy season that may lead you to winning in your league. All right, so let's start off with the week that was. A couple of winners from this past week. If you started Jaguars running back Leonard Fournette, congratulations. 31 fantasy points, over 100 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns as they demolished that Steelers defense. Big game right there from Leonard Fournette. Next up on the list right now, Eagles quarterback Carson Wentz. I mean, battle of the birds, and I think he just carved up the Cardinals defense very badly. 21 out of 30, 4 touchdowns. I'm talking about just a huge, big game against the Cardinals. As you see right here, nice clean pocket, dropping back, finding Torrey Smith right there, one of his 4 touchdowns on the day. He was tops in fantasy as quarterbacks as well. Big game from here. Another notable winner this past week was, albeit in the loss, Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson. 35 fantasy points, big game. Like I said, although being in the loss. Quarterback Cam Newton for the Panthers, big game as well. And AJ Green for the Cincinnati Bengals, big games fantasy-wise there for those guys. Now, all those guys right there had great weeks, but these guys right here, not so much. So let's go on to the ones who I think lost this week in fantasy football. So going back to that Jaguars and Steelers game, I'm going to start off with quarterback Big Ben Roethlisberger, and he wasn't looking too big this past Sunday at all. I mean, the stat says it for itself. Had to throw the ball 55 times, 5 interceptions. 2 of them went for pick sixes. Only managed 2.5 fantasy points this past week. Just very bad game right here. You should see 2 out of those 5 interceptions right here that we're showing to you on the screen right now. Another bad fantasy week this week for a couple of players was Los Angeles Rams running back Todd Gurley. After the big couple weeks that he had against the 49ers and the Cowboys and here on and out, only managed to have 43 yards rushing and this key fumble right here against the Seahawks. Not too much that he could do right there against a great Seahawks defense who really came to play, shut down the #1 scoring offense this past Sunday. Now, other notable losers were Titans tight end Delaney Walker and New York Giants tight end Evan Ingram. Those guys didn't do pretty much anything. Amari Cooper still has the case of the drops, and Golden Tate also did pretty bad this week in fantasy. Now, we're on to week 6 here, and we're going to get ready for your starts and sits here right here. Now, there's a couple of teams that is on bye week. For starts, I would probably go with running back. I would go with running back. What's the running back's name I would go with, guys? Oh, I'm tripping. Yeah, I would definitely go with running back Jared McKinnon. Starting running back, he's going to start out running. Well, he's not the actual starting running back for the Minnesota Vikings, but him and Latavius Murray splitting carries right there. In the PPR league, I would definitely go with Jared McKinney. As far as other starts, Jacoby Brissett. I know a lot of people are wondering, well, Andrew Luck, what is he going to do? Big game right there from Jacoby Brissett. I like the Atlanta Falcons defense. Jay Cutler, need I say more? Austin Seferian-Jenkins and Marlon Mack. I like a lot of Colts players right now against the Titans on Monday night. As far as sits, I'm going with Big Ben Roethlisberger again. He's playing that Chiefs defense. Aaron Jones because Ty Montgomery's coming back. Sterling Shepard, there's no receiving core. Evan Ingram, they're going against the Broncos defense. And I'm going with the Miami defense to sit because Atlanta's coming off that bye week and they're going to rip the shreds and everybody's coming back healthy. That's all the time I have right here for fantasy football this week. It's one of my favorite quotes of my favorite movies. May the odds ever be in your favor. Ball out, fantasy players. I'm Martin Sanders. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Marthany. Now, no matter what all you just told me, my fantasy team is still going to be terrible.
I wrote down some notes, though. I think he's going to lead me to the Vic promised land.
I think so, too. I know I did start Evan Ingram last week, that big donut in the point column. But let's go to our favorite part of the show, football pick'ems. Let's pick some football games, Vic. What are you going to start us off with?
Let's start off at home with the Colts versus the Titans. Elijah, It's been a rough last 2 weeks for the Titans. What do you think they got for us?
It depends. If Marcus Mariota's back, I really like the Titans to win, especially since Andrew Luck's probably not going to play.
Mm-hmm.
I still go with the Titans even without. You're in home. It's a divisional game. The Titans haven't beaten the Colts in Nashville in years. So I think the Titans are due for one. What do you got, Vic?
It's very sad. I'm a very big Titans fan, and I still don't have them winning this game. Only way they have a chance is if we get a healthy Marcus Mariota back. And I'm not talking about kind of rusty Marcus Mariota. I'm talking about ready to go. But besides that, no, I don't have them going anywhere with this game. And it's in prime time, so the whole country's about to see my team take a fat L.
All right. Calvin, who do you got for Titans Colts? I know it's a big one. It's a big Monday night game. Who are you leaning with?
I really like the Titans on Monday night at home, especially if Marcus Mariota can come back. I really like the Titans to take this game.
All right. Which one we got next, Vic?
What we got next is the Eagles versus the Panthers, another primetime game. And Elijah, I'm going to take this one first, actually. Super Cam's too hot. The whole Panthers team is too hot right now. They're hot as pancakes, but
pancakes.
Super Cam is looking like 2015 out there. That's all I'm saying.
He is having a better year, but I'm a firm believer that the Eagles are taking residence in Pennsylvania. Carson Wentz is having a terrific year, and he's one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the league, and that number 2 pick is starting to pay dividends for the Eagles. The receivers are looking good, and player to watch out for, my boy Derek Barnett, Brentwood Academy graduate and former UT Vol, having a great year on the Eagles defensive line as well. What about you, Calvin? Who you got?
After their huge win, 34-7 against the Cardinals, I got to go with Carson Wentz and the Eagles. He's playing too well, and I like what the Eagles are doing.
I like where your head's at, Calvin. I like where your head's at. Now, how about a rivalry game? The rivalry games were a theme at the beginning of the show with the 2 college games. Packers-Vikings. Who you got?
Packers-Vikings, I'm going to have to go with the Packers. Aaron Rodgers, that arm's looking as good as ever, and he's going to put it on full effect this Sunday against the Vikings. What do you think?
Last week, I said that the Packers had the edge over the Cowboys just because of that man, Aaron Rodgers. You see what he can do when the going gets tough. And Aaron Rodgers is without doubt the toughest quarterback in the NFL, if not the most gifted and best. And the way he's playing right now, he's in MVP form. Calvin, who you got?
I'm going to go against you guys here. I'm going to pick the Vikings. They have a really good secondary headed by Xavier Rhodes. Even though Aaron Rodgers was amazing last week, I question if he has it in him again with almost no offensive line. I got the Vikings.
Interesting pick, but I got to respect it.
Going against the grain.
Next
right there.
Next one, let's bring it back to college. MTSU versus UAB, another CUSA matchup for MTSU. Who do you have?
I know our boy David was really high on talking about Urzua, and he wants to see him play. But however, Urzua on the road, it's going to be a little harder for a team like UAB to come out on the road and pull out a win like that, especially with a guy who's got very minimal experience. So I like UAB. I love the momentum of that program. They had their program taken away a couple years ago. It's back. They're starting to find their role, and I feel like UAB's got us in this one.
I definitely got to go with you on this one. I'm sorry, campus, but UAB, I'm not even going to say UAB's just looking amazing right now. MTSU is just having not the greatest year. Of course, they had a big win for homecoming, over FIU, but honestly, they still didn't look to their full potential out there. So we're going to have to go with UAB. Calvin, what do you think?
I think John Urzua is playing perfectly well enough to beat UAB next weekend. I'm going to pick MTSU to win their second in a row.
All right. Not necessarily by a mile this time, but he does like the Blue Raiders.
At least one of us got school spirit.
One of us do. One of us doesn't. It's not me. One more game.
Last but not least.
Is this the game that gets Butch Jones fired, Victor Benz?
You are correct.
Oh, well, okay. Here's the funny thing. I agree with you too. With the way Tennessee's secondary is, they've been picked apart all season long, and Jake Bentley's a good quarterback. Let's not sugarcoat this. Jake Bentley's a really good quarterback. I just feel like he's going to come into Neyland and light that bad boy up like a Christmas tree. Calvin, is this the game that gets Butch Jones fired? What do you think?
Well, you talked about Jake Bentley, and he's a fantastic quarterback, but what I'm really concerned for Tennessee here is that Jarrett Garantano reportedly is going to start Saturday, and I think Will Muschamp's going to have some really complex stuff dialed up for him on the defensive end, and I think Tennessee's really going to struggle to score. I got the Gamecocks.
All right, that's a unanimous vote for the South Carolina Gamecocks in Knoxville. Unfortunately, Vic, that's all we got for you this evening.
You sure we can't go one more block?
One more block? As much as I want to, our time is up. A little voice in my ear is telling me to shut up and wrap it up.
We got you. Thank you for joining us here at NSEN. Tune in next week for another great show. Elijah, be my guest.
Take it easy, Rutherford County.